Welcome back to Spriggerer Homestead, and today we're going to talk about...
Nikki! I just saw on Craigslist, somebody's got free bull calves.
Okay, today we're going to talk about free animals and why they might not be a good investment for your homestead. So one of the biggest things you're going to see in free animals is that they're usually going to be males. What happens anytime you're breeding animals is about half of what you're going to produce is going to be males, and not everybody is comfortable putting stuff in the freezer. So you'll see a lot of things like roosters, male goats, male ducks, male rabbits, that sort of thing. There's a number of reasons why this might not be a good financial situation. If you're planning to eat them at some point, males are usually a lot stronger in taste, especially in your big mammals like cows and goats and that sort of thing. So you're going to have to take the time to have them castrated. If they're young, like the calves that Kanan was so excited about, it's pretty easy. You can buy a tool and band them and castrate them. However, if they're a little bit older, you may have to call the vet and have it surgically done, which is kind of expensive in the long run. The other thing that you might be thinking is, well, I'll get a free male and I'll use it as a breeder. The ones that are going to be for free are usually not your highest quality, probably not going to be your best breeding options. You're far better off saving some money and actually buying a high quality breeding male than taking a free one.
Now, the next thing you're going to find off of free animals is typically they're going to be either straight run, which is unsexed, or sometimes they're going to be incorrectly sexed. So straight run, like Nikki said, is going to be a 50-50 mix, probably between males and females. If you don't understand which is the right way to look at stuff, or if it's how to sex it, maybe take along a partner that knows. And I'll say for ones that are incorrectly sexed, we recently saw on Facebook somebody is trying to milk their goat, and what they're pulling on was not a teat. It was a boy, and it was not happy.
So another thing that you have to be wary of when it comes to taking in free animals is your hidden illnesses. So in goats, you have a variety of stuff that doesn't always manifest. Your things like CAE, CL, and John's disease. In rabbits, it can be an issue like Pasteurella that doesn't always flare up until they've been stressed. You can also get things, we had this happen to us back when we lived in Mississippi. A gentleman was offering a whole bunch of laying hens that were about 6-7 months old that weren't laying. Turns out his entire flock had fowl pox. In chickens, it's not very noticeable, but if you bring it onto a farm where you've got other poultry, you can have a disaster in a hurry. We actually had a chicken egg customer come by our house in Mississippi, same gentleman, that walked through a couple of our pastures to look at some chicken pens, never knowing that he had this illness. We pasture raised our turkeys and ended up picking this up. It looks like chicken pox on turkeys, and it can be fatal. So be very, very cautious about anything that you pick up. And absolutely, if you're going to take in a free animal, and even if you're paying for one, quarantine for 30 days, no matter how healthy that animal looks, will do a lot for saving you in the long run.
Okay, so the next thing you're going to find in free animals, a lot of times are the people giving them away honestly don't understand what they are. Now, they may know it's like a goat or a chicken or a sheep or something else, but they may not understand what is made up in the breeds. So an example for us is what we learned recently, probably in the last couple of years. Nikki went to go get a couple of kinder goats. Now, kinder goats, if you look them up, are supposed to be in the 100 to 110 pound range. When she got there, the goats in question were probably 35 pounds apiece. They weren't even 110 pounds combined. So the person giving them away honestly had no research involved in what they were other than it was a goat. So if you don't understand what is supposed to be what it is, if it's a goat, a chicken itself, take some time to understand and research what it is supposed to be so that when you get there and you see it, you know it is or is not what it's labeled as.
And in our case with the kinder goats, luckily I already had Nigerian dwarfs. So when I got there, I knew right away what these two little goats were. And we did actually buy them or pick them up and bring them home. And they've been added to our Nigerian dwarf goat herd. But had I not known, I could have brought two goats home thinking they were kinders, and they really weren't. So the next thing you need to be wary of when it comes to taking in your free animals is reproductive issues bad mothers, and just bad genetics. These are things that you just can't see when you pick that animal up. Anytime somebody's given away a proven anything, whether it's a female goat, rabbit, anything, and they tell you that she's put out good litters in the past or had good kids, ask a lot more questions. A lot of times what'll happen is somebody will get a goat, she's a bad mom, maybe she neglects her kids, maybe she's killed her kids, and they just don't have the heart or the time or the space to put her in the freezer themselves. A lot of times people get this misguided idea that, well, I'm not selling it so it doesn't make me a bad person, when really this thing probably should be culled from the breeding program. And they'll offer it as free. So be very careful if you bring a female home to watch her the first time she has babies. You may find out that it's a very bad mom. Or, in our case with rabbits, sometimes you get genetic issues. You can get malocclusion, which is where the teeth don't line up. Mom may be fine, but she may be a carrier of it. Males are the same way. A buck can come into your farm, and you could have all kinds of problems with your kids. Splayed legs, or even worse genetic issues, spinal abnormalities. So there's a lot of things to watch for, and reproductive issues. Maybe the new buck you just brought home is sterile. So keep that in mind. If you're bringing in something that you plan to breed down the road, go into it with the mindset that you may get nothing. And how long are you prepared to hold on to that animal, feeding it, taking the time to, administer vaccines and wormers and all the normal upkeep? How long are you prepared to do that in the event that it gives you nothing?
Hey, you ever talk about a rabbit being a biter? Well, sometimes you bring home a rabbit or another animal, and they have a bad attitude with behavior problems.
Did you want me to say something?
That's a bad attitude, isn't it? So a lot of times free animals, honestly, they are sweet when you get there, but the other side is by the time you get them home, Dr. Jekyll has gone to Mr. Hyde, and it's free on Craigslist. So be prepared for the fact that something you may get home from another farm gets to yours and becomes an absolute terror. It may destroy your property. It may destroy your will to deal with it. And it just may be a bad problem for the other animals on the farm. So decide, does free really mean it's a good idea?
And I've seen this in everything from rabbits. We had Fred the biter rabbit. We've had goats that have destroyed everything and tried to put holes in the barn. And right out of high school, I worked for a llama farm that had one of the most vile female llamas I've ever had in my life. But yet, if you took her to a show or anywhere else in a little pen, she was the sweetest animal ever. To this day, I pity the people who ended up with her. Okay, so the last thing to think about is, what time of year is it? Probably the biggest time of year that we see animals listed for free is going to be in the spring with your goats and cows and things that didn't take. And when everybody else is kidding and Mabel the goat hasn't, a lot of times breeders will assume there's an issue there. So you'll see free females in the spring, you'll see free males, maybe he didn't cover any of the females, and then you're going to see it again in the fall. And the reason you see it in the fall is people are trying to cut down on winter feeding. You'll occasionally see them even in winter or very, very, very early spring when people have flat out run out of hay. This is a big deal in big animals. So usually come January or February, you're going to be looking at horses, cows, and goats a lot of times for free. If you've got the hay, can afford the hay, and have hay locally, these can be great options for you. However, if you're having, like in Texas a few years ago where there were drought issues, or in California we had wildfires this last year, which meant locally for me, hay by December and January was non-existent. So don't take in anything that you don't know that you can feed, and never assume that hay is going to be readily available. This does also include feed. You have sometimes that you get rabbit feed recalls. So if you've taken in rabbits, maybe there's a reason why the breeder's getting rid of them. They simply may not be able to afford to feed them or have access to the feed.
So with all those ideas out there, it really is a gamble of whether a free animal really is a good investment for your farm. whether it's going to be a cost issue, genetic, behavior, anything else, a lot of times free really means they're just passing a problem to you and getting it off their own farm. So it's really kind of up to you to do research and decide what is acceptable to deal with. Even if it's a bad animal, maybe it's a rehabable animal, and somebody bad over there may be great for you because you have the time to deal with it in the right way. So with that, we're done here with Sprague Homestead. Now, if you guys like these top 5 and these tips ones, let us know in the comments. Send us a message. Otherwise, we'll see you on the flip side and on the next time. So we're not getting bull calves?
No.
Dang it.